the creation or anything can we do. Creation, modification, drop and everything can be done with is defining and manipulation of the database objects. Not manipulation, maintenance. Okay, so now what are the different types of database objects we have? What are different types of database objects we have? What are different types of database objects we have? Sequence, table, view, index, sequence, view, synonym, sequences, indexes and everything. Okay, so now, so what is the command we will use for granting object privilege? What is the command we will be using for granting object privilege? Grant command. Okay, so now what are the two types of the privileges we have? What are the two types of privileges? What are the two types of privileges? Not the two types of commands. Two types of privileges. System, next. Object privileges. The system privilege and the object privilege. Okay. Now we are going to see the today's class. Okay. So now I'm creating a basic user. Create user Oracle class identified by Oracle class. So this is the command for creating a user called Oracle class. Okay. And I'm granting a create session privilege to Oracle class. First thing is here. Let's see. I created a one command. Please note down this command. So we are not, as a developer, we are not responsible for creating a users. But here, just I'm showing you how to create a user, because we will practice all the DDL in the user Oracle class user. I created a user called Oracle class and identified by Oracle class. Okay. So now grant create session to Oracle class. I'm granting a create session privilege. Without create session privilege, we cannot connect to database. So minimum privilege, create session. Privilege is minimum, is required. For connecting to database. At least we need create session privilege. Without connecting, without having the create session privilege, we cannot connect to a database. Okay, so now this command is for creating a user. Whenever you create a user, internally Oracle creates a schema with same name as your user. Let's see here. So whenever a DBA created a user, okay, automatically a schema with same name as user, as username will create in database. So some people use it to call schema and username are same. Here the username is Oracle class and the schema name is also Oracle class. So what is the user management? First DBA creates user and DBA grants necessary privileges to user. And then DBA will give the user credentials to the database developer. So these are the two steps. First, DBA creates a user. It will create a user and DBA grants necessary privileges to user. So it grants, see here, I'm creating a user and I'm granting create session privilege to user. So I just granted a create session only. So the create session is for creating a user. Okay, so now whenever a DBA created a user, automatically a schema with same name as username will be created in the database. Whenever a user with the same name. So the schema and user are same. schema or user are the same. Okay, so now let's see. So now I created a connection to the Oracle user. So this is the username is Oracle class, and password I have given the same, and localhost 1521 and ORCL. So here I connected this user. So now we are going to start tables creation and everything with this user. Okay, so now first we are going to see a tables. Okay, what is a table? Okay, so is a database object with rows and columns. Basically, table contains rows and columns. Okay, so the columns describes the characteristics of data. So the columns describes, that we have already seen, describes characteristics of data. And the rows contain actual data what we are going to insert. It's an object with rows and columns for storing data in database. So that is, the table is the only component which contains the data. The table is the only component which contains the data. And the rows contains actual data of the table. Actual data of table. Okay, so it's the database object with the rows and columns storing for the data. So the table contains the data. So the column describes the characteristics of data, and the rows contains actual data of a table. Actual data of a table. Okay, so the maximum number of columns in a table is 1000. Table is 1000. So as per Oracle 10G or 2 version. Okay, but they might have increased in the 11G and 12G, but I did not try it with the column with 1000 columns. I never tried a table with 1000 columns. So the maximum number of columns in the table is 10G or 2. So is the data. See, the table is a database object. Rows and columns for storing the database. Column describes the characteristics of data. Rows contain actual data of a table. Okay. So now, so the create table command is for creating a table. Create table command is for creating a table. Okay. Drop table command is for dropping a table. Table from database. So that is for dropping a table. Now, okay, alter table command is for changing the structure of a table. Structure of a table. So the alter table command is for changing structure of a table. So the truncate table command is for truncating the contents of a table. Contents of table. So that is for truncating entire contents of a table. So we are going to completely remove the table content. So the basic command for create table command is for creating a table, and drop table command is for dropping a table. Alter table command is for changing the structure of a table. The truncate table is for truncating a entire contents. Okay. Now the next thing is, so if you want to create a table, we need to know, before inserting the data, we need to create a table. What are the things we need for creating a table? Okay, so creating a table. Creating a table. One is unique name for table. So we need a unique name, and so the column and characteristics. Okay. So the column and the characteristics. What are the characteristics? What are the column characteristics? Like a column name, how many columns we need, column name, and a column data type, and the size. So what is the size of the column? Number of 4, number of 5. Okay, varchar 2 of 10, character of 1, date, and these are the column name, column data type, and the column characters. Next thing is any constraints on a column. Any constraints on a column. So we are going to see a constraints on a column. What are the constraints we have? And a primary key, unique, foreign key, and what else? Primary key, unique key, foreign key, and not null. What is the last one? Check constraint. These are the constraints. So we can create a constraint. Okay, these are the basic information required for creating a table. So we need a unique name of a table. So the table name is unique, and how many columns we need in a database. The column name and column data type and the size and the characteristics of a column. Okay, one important point here is we can create a table with or without constraints. Without a constraint. So constraint can be added after creating table also. So we can create a table with or without a constraint. The constraints creation with a table are not mandatory. We can create a table without any constraints. Okay, with constraint. So the constraints can be added. So constraints can be added. So where are we creating the constraint? We are creating constraints on a column. Please remember this. So the constraints are associated to a column of a table. Okay, constraints can be added during the table creation or after table creation. After table creation using alter table command. So if anybody asks, is it mandatory to create a constraints on a table? No, it is not mandatory. Okay, what are the constraints? Basically, constraints defines a rules. Basically, a constraints defines a rule. So we can create a constraint at any point of time. We can create a constraints or optional. Constraints can be created table with or without constraints. We can create a table with or without constraints. Constraints can be added during the table creation or after table creation. Everybody is it clear? So we are going to see how to create a table and what is the syntax of creating a table. Let's see, I want to create a table. A student table name is student. Table name is student with so student ID and student name and DOB. Okay, so the date of birth and address. Okay, and gender. I want to create this table with 4 characters. Okay, so what is the data type we can think for student ID? What is the data type for a student ID? What is the general data type for student ID? What is the general data type for student ID? Yes, for the student ID it is a number. And what is the general data type for name? What is the general data type for name? So varchar 2. And what is the date of birth? Sorry, what is the data type for date of birth? Date. And what is the date of birth for gender? What is the date of birth for gender? Is it a varchar or character? We can use either char or varchar 2. Varchar 2 or character. Because the gender is only single character, male or female. So the one character. If you know the data type, so then we can use a character. Okay, let's see, create a table with this one. So the syntax of table creation. So create table, table name. So I'm creating a table without any constraints. Create table, table name. Student ID, number of 4, I'm giving a 4. and name varchar2 of some 25 and DOB date and gender is a character of 1. Okay, so here, so the default value of the column, let me write a syntax first. Column 1, data type 1 with size and optional default value and optional constraint definitions. We can create a constraint definition. So this is the syntax of this column creation. We can have any number of columns. The column 2, data type 2 on a column 2 and so on. We can have any number of constraints. So here, and any constraints definitions. So it's complete syntax. Okay, this is optional. That's why I am putting in a bracket. See, this is a complete syntax of a table creation. So the column 1 and data type with size. So the default value or a constraint definition. Default value or a constraint definition. Default value or a constraint definition. So here we can adding all the columns. Here I created all columns in a table. So now at the end of all the columns, I'm adding a constraints again. This is the table creation. Example is simple. See here. So there is no constraints and default value. If we don't specify a default value, what is the default value of a column? Note, what is the default value of a column? What is the default value of a variable in PL SQL? What is the default value of a PL SQL variable? Null. Similarly, the default value of a column is null. If we don't specify any value, any default value, it takes null. Okay, let's see. I'm creating a table. Sorry, it's a student table. Student table. So I'm creating a simple student table. It says that insufficient privileges. What is the meaning of insufficient privileges? What is the meaning of insufficient privileges? See, I am executing with Oracle class user. Okay, I am executing Oracle class user. What is the meaning of insufficient privileges? What is this means? What you will do whenever I get an insufficient privileges error? Create privilege needed. Yes. Okay, what privilege? User does not have the privilege. Yes. Okay, so now what create just create is fine or anything. Okay, so here, so we are executing the create table command, okay, from Oracle class user, right? So now I got insufficient privileges means. So this means user Oracle class does not have a create table privilege. Simple. See here, if you see insufficient privileges during execution of this create table, Oracle class does not have a create table privilege. So now I'm granting. So grant create table to Oracle class. I'm granting a create table privilege to Oracle class user. So now let's see and execute this command again. I granted. So now a table student created. Okay, so now whenever you see this type of insufficient privileges error, immediately we need to ask user to give the necessary privileges. Okay, so now table created. I can see the table. Yes, this is a table with 4 columns: student ID, student name, DOB, and so it's nullable. That means I can insert a null. Okay, there is no default value. Everybody is clear? So creating a table without any constraints. Everybody is clear, please? Yes. So now I want to create. Similarly, what is the important thing here? So the student name, table name, and column name, data type, and size. These are optional. These are mandatory fields. So the default value and the constraints are not required. Okay, let's say I'm going to create another table. Create table person. Okay, I'm creating a person ID. Same columns, person ID, number of 4, and name varchar 2 of 25, and DOB date, and gender column, character of 1. So this is the table. Okay, so now I want to create a table with the person ID as a primary key. So now just create a constraint definition, primary key. See here, I just created a table with the primary key. So I'm marking this column person ID as a primary key. Okay, here I'm creating a constraint. Okay, so I'm creating name is not null. Simple. Name is not null. And the gender is default. Yeah. See here, I created a constraint definition. So here the default value. See here, the default value are a constraint definition. So this is a primary key. Simple. A person table created. Now if you see the table, person ID, and if you see the constraints, you will see a constraint sys underscore C00222796. See, this is constraint created. This is a constraint created for above tables person ID primary key. Right, primary key. So now this is a system generated number. So each constraint is uniquely identified by its name. By its name in your schema. Name in schema. Okay, huge constraint. So the constraint number. See, this is system generated constraint. So we can give our own name to the constraint. We can give our own name to the constraint. So in this person table, we are going to, how many constraints we have on the person table? How many constraints we have on person table? How many constraints we have on person table? 2. What are the 2 constraints? What are the 2 constraints we have? One is PK and the second one is not null constraint. Primary key and a not null constraint. See here, so this is the constraints unique name. So here the constraint definition are at the column level. So this is an example. This is an example for constraints are at a column level. This is the, whenever you create a constraints at the column level, those are called as the constraints created at the column level constraints. So that means creating a constraint at the column. So now I'm creating a table, the same table with user defined constraints. Please observe carefully. Person underscore CONS, person name. So here, so now see here, instead of directly specifying the primary key, I am giving a one name to it. So the name constraint. Okay, so PK underscore person ID and primary key. So the constraint name and constraint type. See here, constraint. So the constraint name and primary key. So that means I'm giving a name. Constraint name underscore person underscore table name NN, not null. Okay, not null constraint. Let's see. So I'm creating a constraints with this one. So the person created. Okay. So we have seen 3 examples. See here, these are the names because we provided the names. Okay, so the name of a constraint name is maximum is 30 characters. Okay, so the table name maximum length of a table name is 30 characters, constraint name is 30 characters, and the column name is 30 characters. So 30 characters is the maximum number of characters in the database object name. 30 characters is the maximum number of characters in database object name. So I cannot create a table with more than 30 characters. I cannot create a constraints with this one. So this is a constraints creation at a table level. This is the constraint creation with without any username, And so now the constraint creates. Now let's see the same table with constraints at a column level. So here I'm creating a constraints with a table level. So the table level. So here I'm not writing any this one. Okay, so now here at the end of the column I need to start the constraint. Constraint. So pk underscore person ID primary key of your column name, because we are creating a constraints at the table level. Whenever you are creating a constraints at the table level, we need to specify the column name. See here we have a 4 columns. What column is a primary key? I need to specify a person ID. So if you're creating a constraints at the column level, so the column names are not required to specify. Here we need to specify. Now here constraint person cons underscore table DDL underscore name underscore NN. So the not null. I think this won't work. Let's see. I think we cannot create a constraint at the yes. So invalid identified. What is the invalid identifier? Yes, we cannot create a constraint with the not null constraint at this one. Yes. What is this error? Name already used by an existing constraint. What is the meaning of this one? So which line I'm getting this error? So which line I'm getting this error, please? Where I'm getting this error? Why? Why I'm getting this error? Anybody? I need a complete answer. Shalini, why I'm getting this error? Name is already used by an existing object. Shravani, Kiran, Harita. Why I am getting this error? So the person ID is used already. Constraint name in the above table. Yes, the pk underscore person ID is already there. Okay, that's why I'm changing this column name. table person created. So this is the simple creation of a table. Okay, so each table created with a set of constraints. We can create any number of constraints and any type of a constraints on a table. Everybody is clear, please? Everybody is clear? So we can create any number of constraints. So now let's see. I'm going to create another constraint. Okay. Now student as the address table. Now I want to create a addresses table. Okay. Create an address table. Please observe carefully. Okay. Create an address table. Address table with address ID, city, state, street, house number. Okay, let's say street is not required. Street and with zip and country and student ID. Okay, student ID. I want to link. I want to create the parent and the child table relationship between student and address table. Okay, so now create a parent-child relationship between. So we already have a student table, student and address table. Okay, so if you want to create a parent-child relationship between two tables, what type of a constraint we will use? What type of constraint we will be used while creating a parent-child relationship? Kiran, foreign key. Okay, let's see how to create a foreign key. And I want to restrict this country, restrict a country values should be either USA or UK or India only. I want to accept whatever value you are giving. So the data, what you are giving, what you are inserting in the country table, it should accept only USA, UK and India only. It cannot accept any other value. So what we will do? Okay, check constraint. So checking a column against a list of values. Okay, so now let's see. So I want this is a primary key and this is, so that's it, primary key and this check constraint and this student ID is a foreign key. Okay, so now let's see. So create table address ADD address ID number of 4 primary key constraint address underscore ADD ID okay underscore PK primary key okay and city varchar 2 of some 20 and street varchar 2 of some 20 and the state is varchar 2 of some 20 state and the zip code is var number of 4 compulsory. Okay, right? And I want to create a check also. Zip value should be 5 characters, always 5. I want to restrict, so the value at least 5 characters. Zip value at least 5 characters. How can you check it? At least 5 values, 5 characters. I want to create a table with zip code should accept at least 5 characters. How can you check it? So we need to write a length. Okay, check number of 5. So check, so length of zip is equal to 5. I'm checking so length of zip is equal to 5. Okay, so I'm checking. So length of zip is equal to 5. Now, and the second one is std_id. So number of 4. Okay, whenever you want to create a parent-child relationship between the two columns, so the student ID, in address table and student ID in the parent table should have a same data type with the same size. So here I have a number of 4 in the person table. So in the here I have a number of 4, and here also I need to have a number of 4. Okay, so for creating a foreign key relationship, so the columns should have a same data type in both parent and child table. Compulsory, we need to have a same data type in both parent and child table. Okay, so now for a foreign key column, we need a primary key or unique constraint, primary key constraint or unique constraint in parent table. Because see here in the address table, this address ID is a foreign key. In the address table, this is a foreign key. So the foreign key which refers to this student table. This refers to this student table. What we have to do? It should be a primary key on this table. We need to have a primary key on student table. Everybody is clear? Okay. So now let's see. Student ID. So now I'm adding a constraint. So the constraint name fk underscore address underscore student ID. Okay, foreign key syntax. Foreign key of column name references parent table student of student ID. That's it. So foreign key constraint. The constraint name foreign key. Constraint name foreign key of column name. So this is the column name. And the references student table. So no matching unique or primary key for the column list. So no matching because I don't have a primary key on the student table. That's why this is not. I cannot create a foreign key with a reference to a student table which does not have a primary key or unique constraint. Which does not have a primary key or unique constraints. Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? So I need to create a primary key. So here check length is equal to 5. So now I'm going to create a primary key here. Primary key. So just I'm dropping the student table and recreating it. Drop table student. I'll explain, don't worry about this drop table. So dropping a table and I'm creating a table student table. Table created. Now I'm creating a address table. Yes, see here address table created. So that means, okay, so now the student and address table are related to a foreign key constraints of a column student ID. Anybody have any doubts please so far? And here, so this is the check constraint. What is this check constraint is doing? If you give a value other than 5 characters, it should give an error because so here I put a condition check length of zip code is equal to 5. So compulsory we have to give a 5 values. Compulsory we have to give a 5 values. Everybody is clear? Everybody is clear for creating tables. Okay, student table created and address table created. Now let's see. I'm going to create a course table. So create table course. Courses, course ID, number of 4, course name, whether it is C or C++ or Oracle or Java, worker 2 of 20, duration, number of 2, that's like a 1 year or 1 month or 2 months or something, duration. So course ID, course name and duration. This is my table. Okay, and any comments. For example, varchar2 of some 100. That's my comments. So now I want to create a constraint. So the constraint course ID, primary key, pk underscore courses underscore course ID, primary key of courses, course ID. I'm creating a primary key constraint. And the constraint unique key of courses of name, course name, unique of course name. How many primary keys we can have in a single table? How many primary keys we can have a single table? Only one. We cannot have more than one. See here. A course table is created. Course table is created. Now we have a student table. We have a student table. We have an address table, and we have a course table. Okay, what is the relationship between student and address? So one student can have many addresses, right? Everybody is clear. So one student can have many addresses. So the relationship between student and address is many, one to many. Student to address is one to many relationship. Okay. So now what is the relationship between student and course? What is the relationship between student and course? Any others? Shravani, why it is one to many? It's a many to many. One student, one course. So many to many. Many to many means, say I can study 5 subjects. I can study Oracle. I can study Java. Okay, one student can study multiple courses, but one course can be studied by multiple students. So we all are learning Oracle, right? Many to many relationship. So one to many relationships can be implemented with a foreign key. One to many, how do you implement a one to many relationship? So the one to many relationship can be implemented with a foreign key. But how can we implement a many to many relationship between two tables? Right? So how do you implement a many to many relationship? It's not possible. Not possible with constraints. Constraints directly. So then what we are going to have? We are going to have the bridge table between these two. Student and student courses and courses. So the student to course and courses to student. See here. Student to course, student courses is one to many, and courses to student is one to many relationship. So in order to implement, it's a bridge table is required for implementing many to many relationship. Many to many relationship. Okay, so now let's create a student course table. Create table student courses. Yeah, STD course ID. That is the primary key in this table. 4. Now student ID. Okay, now here student to student course is one-to-many relationship. Okay, and courses to student is one-to-many. That's why we need primary keys of both student and courses table in this one. So STD ID number of 4. Why it's number of 4? I want to have the same data type as my student table because I want to create a foreign key. Course ID number of 4. Okay, so now the constraints pk underscore std course ID primary key of your column name std course ID. Course ID. So this is a primary key created. Now I want to create a foreign key. The constraint fk underscore std courses underscore std ID foreign key of student ID references student table of std ID. So I'm creating a foreign key. Okay. So now similarly I want to create a foreign key. Constraint fk underscore std courses underscore course ID foreign key of course ID. So references courses of course ID. So now this is the way of implementing a many-to-many relationship between two tables. So many-to-many relationship. See here. So student table to address table is one-to-many. We implemented one-to-many, and we implemented course to student to course many-to-many. And if we implement a student to course and course to student, how we implement it? We need a bridge table. What are the columns in the bridge table? Primary keys of both tables. Primary keys of both table. What is the primary key in the student table? Student ID. What is the primary key in the courses table? Course ID. So it has a foreign case and its own primary key. Okay, everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? Yes. I want to create a unique constraints on combination of these two. Because see the student and course ID combination cannot repeat. Right. So one course, one student only. I cannot have a Oracle 5 times in my table. I cannot have a Vinay Oracle. So I want to create another constraint. So let's drop this table. I'm going to create again with a combination. Okay. So now constraint course ID unique of two columns std ID comma course ID. So the single constraint with the multiple columns is possible. So this is called as the composite constraint. Please note down this point. The composite constraint. Composite constraint means a constraint which contains multiple columns. See here, table course created. See the combination. Why I created the combination? I want to make sure so that each student can have only one subject. So that means a combination. So it cannot repeat Vinay Oracle. I want only Vinay Oracle. That's it. One record is fine. I don't need to have a multiple records. So this is called as the composite constraint. What is the meaning of a composite constraint? Composite constraint means a constraints with multiple tables. A constraints with multiple tables are called as the composite constraints. Everybody is clear? Everybody is clear, please? Yes. So how can we implement a one-to-one relationship between two tables? That's my assignment to everyone for tomorrow. So how can we implement one-to-one relationship? That's tomorrow compulsory. I want to answer between two tables. How can we implement one-to-one relationship between two tables is my assignment. So this is the way of creating a tables. Now let's see. Okay, dropping a table. Drop table name. Table name with optional purge option. So the drop table name. So the dropping a table. Okay, what is the meaning of drop table with purge or without purge? Okay, let's see. I want to show you something. Okay, so now I have a file. I'm creating a sample test file. Okay, I added some data. So file created. Okay, so now if I delete a file, what happens? If I delete a file, what will happen? If I delete this file, what will happen? If I delete this file, what will happen? Anybody? Yes. Whenever I delete a file, this one. So whenever I delete a file, so it goes to recycle bin. Okay. So the recycle bin means, that means, see here, test file is there here. So it's not deleted permanently. It put it in a recycle bin. So I can restore it. I can say restore. Whenever I restore, so I'll get my table back. So that means, okay, so whenever you delete a file, so the table first it goes to recycle bin. I can restore it from accidentally I deleted a file. So accidentally deleted files can be restored. Okay, so now let's see. So now the second option is deleting a file. So I'm deleting with a shift delete. Shift delete means permanently delete a file without putting into a recycle bin. Okay, permanently delete a file without putting into a recycle bin. This is exactly same. Okay, the drop table without purge. Without purge means table will be placed in recycle bin. Recycle bin of database. A database recycle bin. Okay, the database recycle bin. So we can restore it. So we can restore it. Restore it. So if you put a drop table with purge, so means permanently drops a table. From permanently. Table will be dropped permanently. Okay, everybody. So the drop table with purge. With purge means drops a table permanently. So the drop table without purge means this one. Okay, everybody. Now, and one thing is, let's see. So the drop table, student table. Drop table, student table. I want to drop a table called student. See here, I cannot drop. Okay, an attempt was made to drop a table with a unique or primary keys referenced by a parent keys in another table. We cannot drop a parent tables. We cannot, using the drop statement, we cannot drop a parent table without dropping a child tables first. Please note down this point. Because student is a parent to student course table. So first I have to drop the student course table. So then drop student table. We cannot drop parent table. Everybody is clear? We cannot drop parent table without dropping child tables first. Child tables first. First we need to drop all the child tables and then drop it. Everybody is clear? So the drop table. The drop table means it's a completely drops the table from database. It's a completely drops the data table from a database. It drops table along with the data also. So the drop table means it drops the table along with data also. The drop table means we cannot drop parent table without dropping a child tables first. Now the truncate table. Anybody have any doubts, please? Can I drop a table which contains a foreign key in another table? No, we cannot drop. P. They will ask you, they won't ask you parent and child table. They will ask you, okay, I have a table called student. I have another table called ABC. Okay, I have a foreign key in ABC table, which is reference to student table. Now, can I drop a student table? They will ask like this. They won't ask you theory. Can I drop a parent table first? Like this. Else, they will ask you like this. I have two tables, student table and address table. Address table has a foreign key with student table. Okay, so can I drop student table? Yes or no? No, we cannot drop like this. So the truncate table name. Truncate table name. The truncate table name means it just truncates the contents of the data. Truncates entire contents of table. Table remains in the database. Only data will be erased, will be deleted from table. Only data will be erased from table. So the table remains in the database as it is. So we can use the table for future purposes. So the table remains as it is. So we cannot drop a table. Everybody is clear? Sorry, we cannot truncate a table. Truncate table name. Everybody is clear, please? Truncate table name. So this is all about creating a tables with constraints or without the constraints. I want everybody to create all these tables and insert five rows in each table. Insert five rows in each table. Okay, they'll ask you questions. How do you implement a relationship? Okay, one-to-many relationship. How do you implement a many-to-many relationship? How do you implement a one-to-many relationship and one-to-one relationship? See here, this is a nice example of the check length of column. So it allows records into percentage address table with a zip value only 5 characters. If you give a value other than 5 characters, it won't allow you to insert a record into a table. Everybody is clear? Now let's see alter table command. Another 10 minutes only, don't worry. Alter table command is for altering a structure of a table. Altering for structure of a table. What is the meaning of altering? Okay, so using the alter table command, we can add new columns to existing table. We can add a new columns. We can modify column characteristics. We can modify the column characteristics. Modify the column characteristics is change data type. We can change the data type. Can increase or decrease the size of a column. Increase or decrease size of a column. Can change, and then we can rename a column, and we can drop a column. We can drop a column from database. We can add constraints to table. We can add a constraints to table. So we can enable or disable a constraints. We can enable or disable a constraints on table. We can enable or disable a constraints on a table. And the seventh one is We can enable or disable triggers on a table. And we can mark the column as unusable. So we can mark the column as unused. Okay, we can add a constraints, we can remove a constraints, we can add constraints to table, or we can add constraints, or we can remove a constraint. Add or remove constraints. Remove a constraints in the sense we can drop a constraints. We can drop constraints on table. Okay, we can add constraint to table, we can drop constraints on table. Everybody is clear? So these are the operations we can do on a using alter table command. Alter table, table name. We can add new columns. We can add a columns. We can add any number of columns. We can modify a column characteristics. What is the meaning of modification? Change data type. We can increase or decrease the size of a column. We can rename a column. We can rename a table also. We can rename a table also. We can drop a column. We can drop or add a constraints. We can enable or disable a constraints. Enable or disable a constraint. So please, these are the examples. So please see this constraint syntax and please this the constraint syntax. Tomorrow we will see these examples and tomorrow we will try to finish the sequences and the synonyms also. Okay, sequences, synonyms tomorrow, and views on Friday, and we will start tuning. In the tuning, we'll discuss indexes. Everybody is clear? Everybody is clear? No, please. Yes, no. Okay, so let's wait 2 minutes. I will finish the one more topic. Okay, so now the Oracle user, I want to create a table. Let's see what is the table Scott. Okay, let's see ABC students table. Okay, let's create a person table in. Okay, I have a table called person. Okay, so now this is the person constraint underscore table. I want to create this table. Okay, I want to create a table. Create table person underscore con underscore tbl in Scott schema. Scott schema. So who is executing this table? So Oracle class is trying to create a table in Scott schema. Oracle class is my user. Oracle class user is trying to create a table in Scott schema. Is it possible? Yes or no? Yes, it is possible. If you want to create a table in another user's schema, or if you want to create another user schema, or if you want to create any object or any access in any other schema, so we need to have a. So first thing is we need to put here the schema name dot table name. So that means the Scott dot person cons tbl. This, what is the meaning of this syntax? So this meaning is, so we are creating a table person underscore cons underscore tbl. Okay, in the schema Scott. Who is executing? Oracle class is executing. Oracle class user is trying to execute a table command in a Scott schema. In the last class, I told two different types. The term create table and create any table privilege. So the create table privilege means, that means if you have a create table privilege, we can create a constraint in your own schema only. If you want to create a table in any schema, we need to have a create any table privilege. Let's see. Without having privilege, I'm trying to create a table. See, it says that insufficient privileges because I don't have a any table privilege, because I'm trying to create a table in a user Scott, which is not possible. That's why we need to have a create any privilege. I'm granting create any table to Oracle class. Now I can create a table. Why? Create any table to Oracle class. Yes, granted. So now, okay, so it is failing. That means I need to disconnect and connect it again. Okay, I need to disconnect and connect it again. I'm disconnecting and connecting. Grant create any table to Oracle class. That is right. I'm creating a table in Scott scheme. And why? He can create. So who executed? System executed this user. Okay, Oracle class. Let's see. DBA to Oracle class. I'm executing another privilege. I want to see is there any syntax mistake in my command. Disconnect and then connect. Yes, table created. Okay, because the privilege is not properly issued. That the user does not have a proper privilege. This is the Scott.person constbl. If you open the Scott user, you can see so the person cons underscore tbl user. So that means Oracle class created a table in another user schema. Similarly, we can access, we can create any other schema, any other object. So we need to have a proper privileges. So that we will see in a next classes. Everybody is clear? Or anybody have any doubts, please? Tomorrow we'll see, continue this concept. Anybody have any doubts, please? Everybody, please. So please practice all these commands. Okay, actually I forgot to send you the yesterday's notes on the SQL loader. I'll send it to you now. Okay, so see you tomorrow.